Welcome to ABG, Asian Boss Girl, a podcast for the modern-day Asian American woman. My name is Helen.
I'm Janet.
I'm Mel.
And I'm engaged.
Here's the episode everyone's been waiting for. 2 weeks ago, our ABG Helen got engaged. We are here today with Helen, obviously, and a very special guest, her fiance. You first heard his voice on our podcast when we recorded the Yappy episode 30. If you've been following our social media, you already know who he is, Mr. Philip Wang. So we were all just there in Boston to witness Phil propose to Helen. But a lot of listeners don't know how it happened. So Phil, why don't you walk us through the process?
Oh man, where do you want me to start? I guess.
Why don't we start with when I first
knew.
less about the personal when you knew part and more about when you started actively planning.
Got it. People want to know about the logistics. I get it. Well, first of all, I just had to decide that it needed to happen.
Yes.
Like, okay, it's time to get engaged. But I definitely did know, even at the top of this year, Helen and I kind of talked about, it should happen this year just because of this timing of other things, no?
Not it should, we want to.
Yeah, okay.
Should, don't shit on yourself.
And I just remember around September realizing, oh my God, there's only 3 months of the year left. Everything went by so fast because of Bopomofo opening, ton of Wong Fu stuff going on, that the year was just already over. And I was like, oh my God, if I'm going to make this happen, I just have to force it into my schedule somehow. I know this doesn't sound romantic at all.
So logistical and not romantic right now.
But when there's so much going on, you literally have to just you have to schedule it in. So it was September, and I think the first thing that made me kind of put a flag up was hey, there's this big event coming up, and it was the ISA charity basketball game. So every year for the last 7 years, we do this charity game through ISA TV, and we get a bunch of Asian American influencers to play basketball for charity. And I thought, wait a sec, Helen likes public displays of affection.
Wow, that is not my love language.
You like it though. You like it when I'm public about you.
Sure,
right?
Slight validation.
The complete opposite end of wanting to hide her is to propose to her, yeah, in front of 500 people, right? And so I was like, okay, there's gonna be a ton of our friends there for the basketball game, and we had this audience. So my first thought actually was, should I do this at the basketball game?
Phil actually called Mel and myself.
Right.
Were we the first people you consulted with about this idea?
Yeah, so
Oh.
you guys were. So here's the thing, because I had this other idea I also knew that you guys were planning to go to Boston to speak at Boston College for ABG. And I was like, hey, there's another strategy, which is it could be very private, and I could propose to her at her childhood home. So I had that idea also, right? And they're just completely opposite ends of the spectrum. I called Mel and Janet. I called you two first. You guys are the first people to know about this. And I remember texting you guys, and I think when you saw that it was a group text of just you two and me, I think you said you already knew,
I knew, but it's funny because so Jan and I were both at work when we got the text message, and I think sometimes there's two thoughts that went through my mind. One, oh crap, I think Phil wants to talk about something maybe about ABG. That's one thought. And the second thought is I think I messaged Janet privately. I was like, oh my God, I think Phil texted us. I think this is it.
I had an inkling, and then Phil, the way you started out the phone call was, I think you guys know what this is about.
Oh, I forget what I said. I thought I just said hey, are you guys free?
Oh, wow.
And
I'm just hearing about this now.
Oh, you didn't know?
Yeah.
I was actually here at the Wong Fu House. We're recording at the Wong Fu House today. But I went out to the parking lot, so no one here knew. And here's a crazy thing. This was only 1 week before the game.
Yes, I remember that.
And you had not bought a ring or anything
So
yet?
that was my red flag. I was like, do you have a ring? And he's like,
Oh
I
my
just went to a
gosh.
jeweler this week. And I was like, Phil, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
Well,
Thank you, ladies.
Okay, well, hold on. I asked you guys, okay, I presented the cases for both, right? One is very grand and spectacular, and the other is private and personal and meaningful. But then yes, if it was going to be the basketball game, I only had 1 week. And I was thinking, you know what? Nothing is impossible, right? If I really wanted to, I could just buy the most expensive plane tickets, get her family out here. I could just, you can get a ring. You can, you can find a great ring, whatever, and just figure it out or something. I don't know. I hadn't really worked it out, but
That is such like a man thought.
We did take the time to walk through the pros and cons of both ideas.
Yeah.
There was something about like the spontaneity and the fact that you guys would be around all of your friends from that community that we knew would be something pretty special that you would like. But then on the other hand, it was like, okay, let's think long term. When you guys are married and you have children and you tell them about the story of how you got engaged, which would be more meaningful?
And I also thought, like, as a social media person, it's like, oh, the photos, like, they're both gonna be sweaty in their jerseys, and like, I don't think Helen would be like, yes, I do, and like all the sweat,
And then the ring like slips off my finger because I'm so sweaty.
Versus like Boston, I feel like I know you will be put together and like, be nice.
It was a very, very good choice.
Right. So I think even after that call, I was still considering. So I think it was just like maybe a couple days later. So I had lost another 2 days, and I was like, this is not going to happen, or this is not the best way to go about it. So I texted you guys and I said, okay, it's going to be the Boston one. So that was the date now. In retrospect, so glad, just because even at the game, like we were super tired and sweaty. I had the game-winning shot, like it was good. It was about me that game. No, I'm just kidding. But can you imagine, like at the end, like everyone's all hyped up, and I was like, guys, stop, and then bring it to the middle.
Like, let me make it more about me after the game-winning shot.
But wouldn't that have been amazing to just everyone's like would be cheering? They would know.
I have other opinions on that.
Right?
You
Yeah.
don't think so?
No, because when he was presenting the idea to us, I could tell Jan and I were like, because for me, like, I think it's great to have a public display of of a proposal, but I'm like, just Boston means so much to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, like, that is a story to keep and tell. And like, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit more intimate. And like, I think for me, when I thought of the proposing in the basketball game, I was like, it feels very like kind of more college.
Like a promposal kind of
like
thing,
a prom thing
Yeah.
versus like I want to marry.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, there's tons of people that propose at like sporting events and
That's
stuff,
true,
like
that's
on the
true.
jumbotron and stuff. I also started feeling like it felt a little bit like self-serving. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I want to make it like I want everyone to see this,
Yeah.
like so. I'm glad we didn't do it, but now we had their event was on November 14th, so I was like, okay, I now have a month and a half.
The Boston event was later in the year. So as we got closer and closer to the end of the year, she might have more
Right. So I thought she would be getting angrier and angrier.
Well,
or like antsy, right?
The thing is that like I never pushed you on an engagement,
Oh,
even though I.
course.
No, what are you talking about?
Okay,
No,
you
I
didn't push
didn't.
me, yeah.
Because I knew you had Bopomofo. You opened up a cafe this year, and then you had like Wong Fu stuff. You had so much going on. In my mind, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna pressure him when he's ready. That's fine whenever he's ready, but it better be within this year.
So that was the other thing we were saying, is that if we did Boston, it would be closer to the end of the year, which is actually closer to the deadline.
But I know myself. I knew that if I started thinking about it, I would start looking for like, okay, so when's it gonna be? And I'd start like analyzing every move and like, oh, I think he's like leaving like the house today, not going to work. He's probably gonna go buy the ring, or like start creating like stories in my mind and trying to figure out when it would be. So I just try to like clear it all from my headspace to be like, when he's ready, he's gonna do it. I don't know where, I don't know when. I'm not gonna anticipate.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm glad you trusted the process.
Yeah, I did.
Because I was really stressed out the whole time. And if I knew that you were like breathing down my neck, like that wouldn't have helped. But like I knew that I had, a month and a half now. And so it's kind of funny, like with that, I still procrastinated. I was like, oh, I got a month and a half. And then like another 2 weeks passed without me doing anything. And I was like, oh shit. Like, so I think like the first thing that I did was actually, after I decided, okay, it's going to be this time, I got some of the guys together, like my close guy friends. That was the night that I sat them down. So it was like a lot of guys from like Wong Fu, all the Wong Fu guys. Eric, Dan was there.
I was wondering why you guys were getting dinner.
Me too.
Yeah. So I wanted to let them know, like, I wanted them to be the first to know.
Cute.
And then also because they're the most intertwined in my life, I wanted them to be like in on it so that they can also help me if I needed the help.
Yeah.
Especially like the Wong Fu team, like if I wasn't going to be at the office, I wanted them to know it's not because I'm slacking. I'm doing things, right? Like ring shopping, for example. So around like mid-October, so only a month away, is when I was like, oh shoot, the ring process needs to start.
Yeah.
So I talked to like some other friends and they're like, oh yeah, it took me like 3 months. My cousin Henry, he's like, yeah, it took me like 6 months. I'm like, what the fuck? I was freaking out. But I really thought like ultimately you have to find it and then you just buy it. Like, right? It's not like...
Well, there are multiple things that go into it, right? So when we had that call with Mel, me, and Phil, we agreed that Mel and I would be in charge of kind of figuring out her style preference.
Exactly.
And that Phil would be in
Right.
charge of more of the logistics of how to get the ring.
And so you guys were actually critical in that because we started planning out when you guys could get her to like a ring shop or ring store or whatever, jewelry store, and just at least get her taste of things, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember you also always saying that you loved your sister's ring.
I actually picked out her ring. We
Right.
have like very similar
Right.
tastes, so I picked out the ring I wanted.
So when you guys went on your ABG retreat, you guys planned out this like, hey, let's go. Well, how did it
Mel
go?
and I
Yeah.
were like texting on the side, and we were like, well, how do we not make this obvious? Like, let's just all go ring shopping?
I mean, it seemed a little obvious. It seemed a little pushy because we were like, oh, we're gonna go on a retreat. We're gonna be out on the west side, and there's a lot of cute stores. We were on what's it called?
Marina Del Rey.
Marina Del Rey area. Mel, you were kind of pushing let's go check out a ring shop, and I was like, okay, well, obviously it's probably because of anticipating an engagement. So I think we went into.
So you did kind of know.
I mean, a little bit, because I knew like it was about time, and like you were kind of pushing it. I know you love like wedding shopping and like thinking about dresses and all of that,
yeah.
but it's part of the process. So I was like, okay, I accept it.
But then I said, so I was trying to avoid that because I was trying to say, okay, how can we make it like an ABG thing? Like you guys are getting content for, wedding things. You guys have already talked about it before,
Right.
right? This was definitely a choice also about not going ring shopping with you. So I know like a lot of couples, they're very open about the
type of ring the girl
proposal. They
wants.
go wedding shopping together.
Yeah.
That's very common. But I really, really, really wanted to surprise Helen like out of nowhere. And when I thought about having to take her to a ring shop, to me, like that just completely took away the surprise aspect. And then it just became a lot like, oh, I don't know when he's gonna do it. But like, I really wanted to just like completely blindside.
Which you did.
It was really helpful, even if you had like an inkling of an idea. or
Very
whatever,
small
it,
inkling.
It wasn't as in your face of like, hey Helen, let's go ring shopping.
But how was it then? So when we went to Tiffany's, like I tried on the ring that I thought I wanted, which ended up being the ring that I do want. And I remember trying it on, and for some reason the ones that Tiffany's had, they only had like one small glass case for it. So there weren't that many options. And when I put it on, I was like, I don't know if I want this round, thin band.
Okay, so I could walk you through that
Solitaire.
process. I remember I was like, Janet, we have to make sure we give Phil what Helen wants in terms of what size, all these different things. And so we're like trying to gauge Helen. So we kind of had a certain idea. She talked about her sister, helping her sister out with the cut, the clarity. So we're like, okay, we kind of have an idea what she wants there, but the style was difficult. So we're like, hey, let's go to Tiffany's. They're known for engagement rings, whatever, right? We walk in. I thought this would be the moment we could find the ring for her. No. The selections they had there were just not like, they're just very different this time around. So when Helen was trying the ones she wanted on, she didn't like any of it. I'm like, oh.
Well, it was kind of like, yeah, maybe this or maybe that. And fairly so, because I think, we were all looking at the styles and kind of having a hard time deciding. But then we walked away and we were like, well, shit, then what is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we walked away actually not really knowing what she wanted or what
Well,
looked
there
good
wasn't
on
like
her.
a strong, very specific style, but we knew that she wanted something more circular. We knew that the size or the carat was more important over the clarity. And we did also get her ring size.
I didn't even get my ring size. The lady just said like, oh, I think you're about A. And then she gave like a range.
That was like one of the things that we knew we needed to get. So when she asked it, we were like, check. Okay, one of the 5 things off the list.
Yeah.
It's like this size like was like 4 to 5. Like, oh, in between here she's about, and that's what you took away.
No, the
That's
text that you guys
hilarious.
gave me after was actually I thought was pretty comprehensive. So I thought you guys did a great job. I was like, okay,
you.
because there's
I want to see that text.
no, because there's essentially the 4 C's, right, and then the ring size. To me, that was like all like I really needed to get from you guys. Because at the end of the day, like you did choose a very simple style. Like if you wanted like the whole like the halo or different like special
Yeah, I
settings
knew
or
I
whatever.
didn't. I knew
So
I
like
didn't want
that
that.
was really nice. That actually kept it pretty simple for me. So that when I went into the jeweler, it really was just about deciding the stone. So you actually made it pretty easy for me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. No,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome, girl. Oh my god, police.
Girl.
No, so to me it was just about finding the stone, right? So on my side, I started doing research, and I was like, okay, where do I even start? YouTube. So,
You YouTubed my ring?
no, I YouTubed like engagement ring, like basics, what you should look for, what you should be wary of, all these things.
And they're like, think about it 6 months in advance.
So I got a crash course in things, and then I called a good friend. I called Ki-hong actually.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember he was always telling me, hey, when you are ready, like let me know. I got a really good girl, and she was great. He gave me a contact. And I emailed her first, and she didn't respond for like 3 days, and I was like really worried. I'm like, shoot, I have no leads. But she finally got back. I met up with her, amazing woman. Her name's Michelle. She was super nice, very welcoming, and so made it very simple actually. So I just went in, told her my budget, and then I gave her like the specs that you guys gave me. And so she brought out a couple things, To be honest, like before the diamond buying process, I was always kind of like roll my eyes like, oh, I have to go through this or whatever. Like this industry is so flawed and everything. But like as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, me like you. I was like, I get it now. Like I mean,
I want one.
it's a hard feeling. Like
Yeah.
Do you want me to get you a diamond?
No, I definitely don't. We don't need that. But I mean, they're beautiful. They really are beautiful, right? So grand total, I actually went to go see her only 4 times. So going back to what I was saying about getting it done in a week, technically it's possible. Like I only went 4
But only
4
because
times.
I'm not very specific about what I want. So just
Sure,
the stone, just
I'm
the 4 prongs.
So glad you're basic. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I'm just kidding.
Gonna give that ring back right now.
No, but what's funny is though,
keep
like after that first day, so the first day was just me getting my feet wet, and she still had other questions that I was like, oh, I don't have the answers to this, right? So for example, how many prongs, how thick. I know you want a thin band, but I didn't know there's still like thin, and then there's super
Very
thin.
thin,
and then, right?
yeah.
Second time I went was a week later, and I kind of wanted to narrow down the ones that I wanted. So she just had like a bunch that she was just showing me, right? And the second time I kind of decided, okay, I think it's going to be within these like 4 or 5. Third time I brought Janet and Mel because I wanted them to see it and to give me their opinions, because I started like second guessing myself because there's so many variables that affect the price, and I just wanted to make sure that I was making the best choice. So when they came, very, very helpful. I thought it was like a lot of fun to have you guys there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it worked out because like usually Jen and I work 9 to 5 and we had to go during a weekday. And luckily, we're trying to schedule that out because usually we're at the office. But for
Yeah.
me, I happened to just be working from home that day. So it worked that I could go with Phil and Janet to look at the rings. I think, Jenny, you also had to move things
You're on
around,
lunch
right?
break or something, right? Or
Well, I have work from home 1 day a week, so we just synced our days.
Yeah. Oh,
But that was actually the day that we had an ABG meeting, and we have an ABG Facebook Messenger group, right? So we were also trying to figure out, like, so I was like messaging Mel on the side, and then we're like, we need to make sure that Helen doesn't like, she's gonna think it's strange if you were just like at my place, or like, so we had to coordinate a way to like make sure that it wasn't obvious that we were both meeting up earlier together, and then meeting up with Phil to go together.
actually, the whole communication aspect of it, I was so worried because I think we've all been there where you accidentally text the wrong group, right? And if you're overlapping, talking to the same people in different threads, like I was so nervous. So once we got closer, I told them, hey, we need like a code word that you just start with, just to like let people know that proposal texts are coming.
Yeah.
So
What's the code
So
word?
the code word I came up with, was it like yoga? Or
with
something?
yoga. Yeah.
Of course, because Janet.
Well, just with the text with the 3 of us.
Yeah. So in case like you saw, or in case like, I don't know, just it had to be something that was neutral,
Yeah.
right? So that it would
Like
be
the title of the text group.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Like
If I saw yoga on your group chat, I'd be like, huh?
Yeah.
or maybe like I was texting her like something that I found. Like it was like it was a word that could have a story behind it, like an alibi, right?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
people underestimate how many group chats we're actually in, and Helen's always in it.
Yeah.
And it got really confusing towards the day of the engagement, like those moments leading up to it.
Because I started bringing in Taylor.
There's so many.
Yeah, and everyone else. Yeah.
But before we go there, let's finish up the ring process.
Oh, sorry.
real quick.
Yeah.
So we go with Phil to check out the rings, and I'm pretty sure you guys know this. Helen and Janet know this about me. I literally send them engagement rings all the time. So this moment was kind of like, oh, I gotta look at.
And I was like,
diamonds.
let me try it out.
Let me try this on. And it's really interesting because then so we go to this ring shop. The lady was super nice, and she brings out these 3 diamonds. And honestly, you can't really tell the difference
yeah.
up close, like
Yeah.
the clarity and all that stuff. But then there are different sizes, and we're like not trying to play around which setting would be the best for Helen. Like, so then we're trying on different prongs, different band sizes. We're deciding between 2 of them. And I think the one we chose, or we ended up going with Phil, was because I was joking around. I was like, oh, Helen's such a size queen. We should just get the biggest one.
Size
We did end up going
Yes.
with the bigger one for that. Yeah. I mean, it's so slight, right? And
It's
you can't
so-
really tell unless they're
yeah.
like next to each
Yeah.
other. But we were like, we went back and forth for maybe like 15, 20 minutes of
Yeah.
like, initially it was going to be the other one. And then, but then we ended up going with the bigger one.
Was it deciding between clarity and
Yeah.
size?
Yes.
I see. But and you couldn't tell for the clarity, or you could.
We felt like the trade-off was so slight
Yeah.
that the size was like a more
It was
better
clarity
value.
and color.
And color.
And
Okay.
color,
I
yeah.
see.
And color is one of those things where you can't really tell unless you see a diamond next to the other diamond.
Yeah. You know what surprised me during the process was that, so we're deciding between 2 of the different sizes. The one we went with, which was the biggest one, is actually cheaper than the one that was smaller, right?
Yes,
I think clarity is
yeah.
usually more expensive than carrot.
Yeah.
Or no, or in terms of like,
Going up the scale.
yeah, like in terms of how it affects the price.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, clarity definitely clarity has a bigger effect than I think color. Actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I already forgot. I was like, there's so many
But
variables.
even with the setting of the 4 prongs, there's like a halo part of it. But we all decided not to give her that little halo underneath the ring because we knew Helen was very simple.
Yeah.
And wanted to like have the showcase
It's
be
more
on
classic.
the rock. Yeah.
I do really like the minimal appearance of it because it is just the 4 prongs holding up the stone.
Yeah.
The big stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after we decided, that was actually a big day. We decided there, and I negotiated like the payment with her and everything. And so she had to set the stone. So that was like, I had to wait for that. So she's like, all right, it'll take like, a few days.
5 months.
No, yeah. So I was like, so fast. She's like, yeah, I can get this done, like in a few days. I was
Wow.
like, great, yeah.
Asians, man, they know how to do it.
Yeah. 2 other times I went in to drop off the payments. And once I had the ring, like that was like the biggest relief. Because I feel like none of this happens without the ring, right?
right.
And it's crazy because like the proposal happened on Friday. I was flying out on Thursday, and I got the ring on Tuesday.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So you had no time to like feel like you had to hide it from me.
I had
That's
a day and a
probably
half.
better.
I had a day and a half,
Otherwise, you would
yeah.
have to-
But even that day
yeah.
and a half, I felt like when people say, "Oh, it's burning a hole in my pocket," I
Yeah.
really felt that. Luckily, it was only like a day and a half, but like I just kept it in my back. But I didn't leave it anywhere. Like I didn't want to leave it at home. I just always had my backpack on me.
Did you ever
everywhere.
leave your backpack anywhere?
Never. No. I literally lived with that backpack.
Like when you
for a day
went
and a
to the cafe, for example, to work at the cafe,
Yeah.
did you put your backpack just in the back somewhere? Because you couldn't hold it with you, carry it with you as you're
Right, no,
serving
but I put it like
people.
in a very safe part of the bag.
Oh,
But
man, I'd be scared about that.
Do you know how paranoid Phil was though with like any type of communication with the ring in general? He literally, when he finally got the ring, he texted Jana. I was like, check your email. And then I go to my email and he uploaded a photo to our Google Drive to send us email of the photo of the ring. And I'm just like, okay, this is like so many layers.
yeah,
of,
and
like,
then I deleted it right away.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was just all on the Google Doc. But anyways, while this was all happening, this is just the ring side. While this is happening, there's the logistics of the actual event, right? Of the actual proposal. So I talked to Wes and Taylor maybe 2.5 weeks prior and asked them if they would be willing to come out. I would fly them out and everything to capture the moment, and they were very happy and very honored. So I had to buy the plane tickets, and then we had to figure out housing situation. So Eric also decided to hop on to help out too. So we were looking for hotels, and even the hotels we didn't get until like a couple days
There was
before
coordinating
too.
because we were staying at Sonder, which was through my friend, and then we were trying to go back and forth through Tina Larger one with the guys. But then he was like, Helen's gonna suspect if the 3 of you like are getting this huge place.
Yeah.
So it was like a little bit of back and forth.
Yeah, because we wanted it to be that you guys stayed by yourselves for like that first night, and then after the proposal we could all stay together, and it's like a fun house. But no, it didn't work out. I also was hoping that I would get like discounts from your mom because she works at the hotel.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. I had to ask like your parents. So this whole time, like I was organizing the travel, all this stuff, but I hadn't asked your parents yet. I hadn't told anyone in your family. And so I told your sister 1 week before I was in Boston. And I asked her, hey, should I tell your parents too? Because you guys talk so much.
Yeah.
Every morning your mom is like sending you WeChats and everything, right? And I was just like, I don't know if your mom can
keep it a
secret, right? Or even just the fact that I'm just going to Boston, like, because that I feel like would already give it away, right?
Yeah.
So Annie actually told me, she's like, no, just come the day before and ask them, then they'll be fine, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
they're
what took
chill.
you so
They're
long?
super
Yeah.
chill.
So that took another weight off my back. So everything was kind of falling into place, and I was like, okay, we just got to get there. But there's another challenge, is that since you don't know that I was gonna go, there was a full day that Helen had to believe that I was still in LA. Mm-hmm. And she was in Boston, and we had this 3-hour time difference. And so Helen is the type of person, when we're not together or we're traveling, we like to communicate a lot, and she often wants to FaceTime, or she like at least wants like a selfie or we say hi to each other, right? And like that's normal stuff.
oh, really?
No precarious pictures.
No, yeah, it's not like checking
no
in. It's
D-pics.
more just like it's just more like we miss each other, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be in Boston, I need to have assets essentially to send to her so that it looks like I'm still in LA. That will truly sell the fact that I'm not anywhere that I shouldn't be, right? And it's so hard. Like Helen and I, our lives are so intertwined, right?
Yeah.
And I was hoping and counting on the fact that she'd just be busy with you ladies, like with the event and everything, and that kind of helped out. But like,
Wait, that picture, when I sent you a photo of us on the plane, because we flew red eye. So I mean, you were still in LA.
I was still in
then.
LA, yeah.
So that was an actual photo of you
right.
sleeping.
So you guys flew out at 10 p.m. on
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
yes.
But then I flew out literally 8 hours later at 6 a.m.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
on Thursday. So I wasn't even that far behind you.
Yeah.
So I took some pictures of myself at the cafe like 2 days prior. And then I even took a video that was like, hey, good luck at the event today.
Oh my gosh.
So that when I sent it to you, you would think that I was sending
That's
it
funny
that
because I
time.
was texting Philip and I was like, I'm so nervous for this event. Like, it's
On
a
the
big
day of the
deal.
event, yeah.
On the day of the event. And then he sent me that video of him at the cafe that was like, you're going to do fine, babe. You're amazing. I was like, oh, that's cute.
It felt very
That's a good response.
It felt very like, you know,
He
right then-
anticipated that you
Yeah.
would want.
Yeah, I knew you so well. I was in Boston when I sent that. Here's where I went a little even more careful. You know when you send a photo, if you save it, the metadata will show you the date that it was taken. Right? So I was really worried that if for some reason she saved it and it's like, oh, why wasn't it on my camera roll right away? Because you know sometimes it saves it to where it was taken. So I was like, okay, like that's gonna be a giveaway. So even the pictures I sent her, I took screenshots of the photo on my phone so that it would have a new timestamp of right now.
I like that you think I'm that observant.
Clearly you weren't. We
It's
realized
more about tech savvy actually. Yeah, maybe the technical side of it, but
I like
yeah.
that you think that, though.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I covered everything.
It's crazy because like on our end, it was like we were seeing the photos come in and I was just like, please.
Yeah,
That was actually the response you gave me, too. Because
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, you guys are so, like,
Yeah.
gross.
but in reality, she's like, I can't believe she's falling.
Yes, I guess we could kind of talk through like how it's going through like Janet and like in our head.
Yeah.
When you were planning all this logistics with Taylor, Eric, and Wes. So for our end, we're about to like board our flight, and then at this point we have a group chat with everyone that's about to go to Boston, which is like
Taylor, Wes, Eric, me, and then you.
yes, us. And so we renamed the group chat Work Chat.
Yeah.
So that way you won't see it. But first of all, I realized how when we're traveling, we're always with each other. And like I'm next to Helen, she could see my phone. I'm just like shit. Like she could look down and be like, "Why is this? Like, why are you guys in a chat?" Because Annie's also in that chat.
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So her sister was also in it. I think there are times when Helen's in the restroom. I look at Jen. I go, "Shit. Like, are we good?" Like we're kind of freaking out. And she's like, "Oh my god, Helen's come back." I was like, "Okay, she's back. Let's not talk about this anymore."
Well, I think also working out the details of the logistics, we had left a little open because generally when the three of us travel, we don't really set plans. So I felt like it would be a giveaway if we were like, hey, Friday at this time, we're going to meet at this place, right? So we just knew generally that on Fridays, we had like a couple hour block. We're like, we need to get her to her childhood home. So I think that was like a thing that was hanging in the back of my mind was like, how are we going to say this or what are we going to do?
Right. And that's the thing, like in my mind, I was like, just plan something, like figure out a way to just say like we're gonna go at this time. I think on my side maybe I oversimplified that because I just knew that Helen like wanted to show you guys. I knew that if you guys were there, it's your first time there together. She's gonna want to show you her childhood home.
Yeah.
But then I guess
Well, you guys planted that seed into my mind of like, I want to see, because you guys, I always talk about it during our like speaking engagements, and so that's when you guys were like, oh, I want to at some point see it.
So I was trying to like give you guys ideas of like, hey, why don't you guys make it like an ABG thing, like where ABG visits the hometowns of like, each of us. So we're in Boston. We're never going to be here again. So let's make sure we go get content. I was trying to use ABG as the way to get there.
We all decided, Phil at this point knew he was going to propose to Helen at her childhood home. Cool. So we had Friday open and Saturday open in Boston. So we're like, okay, that should be easy just to push Helen to the house. No. We all found out later Helen has a dentist appointment on that Friday. And we're like, well, shit. Like,
You didn't tell anyone. Why'd you tell
No,
anyone?
I did. I told you ladies that
He told
I had
us like literally 2 days before though.
because we had no plans so my family lives in Quincy, and then our Sonder was going to be a little bit closer to like downtown, and
30 minutes away.
30 minutes away. And so I already knew that like my dentist, which is still in Boston, is in that area, and that we had no plans. So in my mind I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drop you guys off at Copley, because you also said you can hang out with your family, whatever you want to do. Like Mel and Janet, you guys were like, we can walk around and take care of ourselves. So in my mind I was like, okay, you guys can take care of yourselves, walk around Copley while I go to my dentist.
I just couldn't believe that I kept asking them, I'm like, well, why is she going to a dentist appointment when you guys are here? Like, you should be hosting them. Like, you guys should have all these plans. And I was just like, why is she going to a fucking
No, I think
dentist
it's
appointment?
because you guys were like, oh, we can walk around whenever we want to.
Which is true.
Right.
You're pretty self-sufficient.
So basically, like, you didn't feel like you needed to go to the house at that time on that day.
No, not at all.
I think that was what was true, because like we couldn't think of a way to get to be like, oh, we have to go at this time, because we said we want to visit your childhood home, and that actually started planning about a month before before it happened. I knew you'd want to show it, but I wanted to make sure that we showed eagerness before it happened so that it made sense when we were there that we really wanted to go. But yeah, I was like, how do we tell her like 2 p.m. we have to be at your childhood home? Or like, can we visit your childhood home at, I think that's why we kind of forcing like, we'll do it Friday, sometime Friday.
Yeah.
And then let it more like formalize like as we got closer. And then even with the dentist appointment though, so we're like, okay, well at least the dentist is close to her childhood home. And then it was like trying to figure out then like how to get her from the dentist.
Right. And that's,
But that was actually the issue though, because I think that's when I started freaking out, because like I was telling Helen, I was like, hey, like, Boston, everything seems pretty close. Like, okay, Copley is 20 minutes away. And I was telling her, like, why don't we just go to let's try to jam-pack everything in one day, Boston. She's like, that makes no sense though, because Copley and my dentist are in the same area. I want to spend all day here. And then back in my mind, I was like, well, I need to get you to the fucking house. So how am I going to do that? So that was the stressful part of the whole planning thing.
Right.
In our flight, when we landed in Boston, I kept looking at Jan. I go, what do we do?
Yeah.
I don't know how to get
Hilarious.
and that's where Annie came in clutch.
Yeah.
Because since you hadn't seen your parents since you had landed and before the event, like Annie used meeting mom as like the way to say, hey, we should have lunch, around this area.
I thought it was a little weird. I was like, my mom's gonna meet us out there. Okay, sure.
Well, because Annie said that Tyler had a dentist appointment.
Yeah.
In that area.
Yeah.
So even Tyler helped out. So thanks, Tyler.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ladies ever had a UTI? For those who don't know, a UTI is an infection in your urinary tract. They aren't STDs, but can have some of the same symptoms. They're incredibly uncomfortable, and when you have one, all you can think about is getting treatment stat. Luckily, there's Scanwell Health. It's the only at-home UTI test with same-day treatment options. You'll know if you have a UTI in 2 minutes and can connect with a healthcare provider who can prescribe treatment immediately. All you need is the app and their test kit. Some studies estimate that over half of all women experience UTIs, so if you don't suffer from them, you probably know someone who does. Using Scanwell is so easy. No crazy emergency room bills, you don't need insurance, and the test doesn't expire for 2 years, so you can keep it in your medicine cabinet for those just-in-case moments. Scanwell is the same test used in hospitals and emergency rooms and offers the same accuracy as a test you'd take in your doctor's office. Normally, the tests cost $15, but ABG listeners can get the test kit for free. Just pay for shipping. Open up your browser and type in scanwellhealth.com/ABG to order your free test kit. That's scanwellhealth.com/ABG.
All right, so yeah, the night event we spoke at Boston College was amazing, and then I remember the text messages were coming through, and Taylor is texting me saying, "Can I hop on a call with you?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, shit, let me figure this out real quick." So we go back to our Sonder, and like Helen and Janet go pick up wine. Perfect. So I go back to the
Oh, is that why you went back? You didn't come out with us?
Oh, also I was tired, but luckily you guys were like picking up wine, and then Taylor goes, "Can you FaceTime?" So I FaceTime, and then I'm talking to Phil and Taylor now, and they're walking me through this whole like grand plan for the next day of how they're gonna propose to you. They're like, "Mel, we need you to come here at this time. This is the photo." Like they pretty much sent over maps to me of where to place you, at what time.
Overheads. We drew overheads using Google satellite images.
So at this point, it's like, okay, plan of attack. What's gonna happen? And they hang up, and then you guys come back, and at this point, Helen is like showing me the text message with Phil that he like sends over, like, "Oh, hey, I'm at the cafe," and I'm just like, "No, he's not," And then so that was the end of that day, and the next day we knew it was D-Day.
Yeah. And, and the reason why we needed these maps is because the area you grew up in is not just like, oh, go to this house address. Like it's a parking lot that's shared with like a lot of buildings. There's multiple alleyways to get to it. If you went through a different alleyway, you would see us. So we had to make sure you came through certain points of entry.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But so on my side, we went to bed, I think, pretty sure that as long as we went through this plan, everything's fine. But on my side, I'm still trying to pretend like I'm in LA. And so I'm 3 hours behind you, right? But I'm tired. I need to sleep. So how would it make sense that if you're going to bed at 1 o'clock, right? Or let's say midnight, right? And it's 9 o'clock for me. Why would I be out of communication with you for
So
the next
early.
so
Yeah.
early, right? So I did a couple of things. First, I said, okay, we're meeting one of our employees after Bopomofo closes to talk some business or whatever. So that would buy me a couple hours into not communicating. And then I put my alarm for 6 a.m. Boston time to wake up to text you to say, hey, it was a long night. I'm going to sleep at 3 a.m., right?
LA time, yeah.
LA time. So unfortunately, I didn't wake up in time. it was 6:45 or something. I finally woke up, and for some freaking reason, you were awake, and you texted, "Why didn't you text me last night? Like, where'd you go? Or like, are you okay?" Right? And since
because I thought it was 3 a.m. your time, and you were still out.
And usually I would say goodnight or something.
Yeah.
Right?
So I was worried.
You were worried. And so you were so worried actually that you also texted Eric because you knew that I went out with Eric because it was both Mofo business. And so I saw you text both me and Eric, and I was like, "Fuck, Eric." So I woke Eric up. I said, "Eric, you need to wake up right now. It's almost 4 a.m.
LA time.
LA time. You need to wake up as if you were getting up to pee or something. I don't know." And you saw Helen's worry text and say, "Hey, what's up?" And you had to act totally like, what's going on, as if you didn't know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, "Eric, you need to say that Phil's phone got water damage last night, and that's why he couldn't text you when he got home." So then later my story could be, "Oh, I got home, put it in some rice, and then while I was waiting, I fell asleep." But then I was thinking, wait, technically I could be on iMessage on my laptop, or I could G-chat you to let you know everything's okay.
Yeah.
So I was banking on the fact that I just passed out. But her being the worried girlfriend so much, even though Eric said, like, I'm sure he got home safe, she was still like, "Hey, I'm really worried. Like, please text me as soon as you get this." And I'm awake at this time. I'm like, oh my God, like, it's like paining me. I'm like, oh my God.
Because when he said, "I'm sure he got home safe," I was like, oh my gosh, what are you driving home at 4 a.m.? Like, how does he know you got home safe if he can't text you?
Right.
So I was worried that on the drive home, like maybe something happened.
Right. So I pushed it a little bit, like a couple hours or whatever. So I finally did text you.
I just fell asleep. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, he's probably fine.
Yeah, so I finally did text her. I'm like, "Oh, sorry, everything is okay now." And I used GChat so that it would come off as like I was using my laptop. But then I said I had to go somewhere for both Mofo, so I couldn't talk to you, or I had a meeting. So that was the last communication I had with her. So I was like, okay, I think I'm set. She thinks I'm in LA, everything's fine. But I was really on the way to her childhood home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you guys were already on the way to the dentist. Yep. So at this point, it's like crunch time, like it's getting closer and closer, and things look like they're going to be okay.
Yep.
Your dentist was already going. You guys knew where to go.
While she was on her dentist break, Mel and I we like strategically walked far away from the office and found a place for coffee so that we could FaceTime with Taylor and the guys
and
get
time,
well, buy time, but then also to get like a live video of the location because we reviewed the maps and we did to like kind of touch base again to make sure everyone was on the same page.
That's when Wes would send me the text messages like, "This is a chapstick you need to position Helen at for the photo." I was like, okay, cool. So
there were markers on the ground. Yeah,
exactly.
Like where to stand.
And I think at this point we're like, okay, I think it's game time. I think we're ready to go. Annie knows what to do. So the plan was when Helen's done with the dentist, we'll go on the lift. And in the lift, we'll text Annie. And that's when Annie would tell Helen, "Hey, I'm running 30 minutes behind to the restaurant," which is like conveniently located 2 blocks away from the house. And she'll say, "Hey, why don't you guys walk around while you wait for Tyler and I?" Perfect. This is how it's going to work. And so me and Janet obviously were nervous. And I think we're at like a shoe store. And then Helen texts us saying, "I'm done. Where are you guys?" And I'm like, "Well, let's wait 5 minutes. I want to make sure like we're busy or something." And then she ends up calling Janet.
Yeah, we were trying to stall at this point to make it, I think, just the timing. I don't remember.
And just feel
exactly
real.
why.
Feel real.
To feel, yeah. But yeah, through texting, and then you called, and then I was like, "Hello," and you're like, "Oh, so funny. I ran into my cousin." I was like, "Whoa, what?" She's like, "Yeah, she's like picking up her wedding dress."
Yeah, my cousin was on Newberry Street and she was coming towards me. I was walking towards her and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Amy!" And she just picked up her wedding dress from Newberry Street and she was like, "Oh, where are you guys going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm gonna meet up Annie for lunch. You want to come?"
Yeah.
And so she ended up joining us.
Yeah.
Of all the people in Boston, you run into your freaking cousin.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I remember when I looked at Janet's face. She was
like,
"Your cousin?" And that's when I'm like, oh my effing God.
Because now we have an additional person in our group who doesn't know about the plan.
Yeah.
And Helen's like, "Oh, she's going to drive us." And then we're like, okay, now we also don't have control of like getting you if we need to like stall or do anything.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm texting the group, the work chat with like all the guys in. I go, "Oh my God, fuck. Helen's cousin just said she's joining us for lunch." And then that's when everyone like all mayhem is like happening. So I don't know what's going on your end, Phil, but we're just like we're freaking out.
No, we were freaking out too. We're like, what the fuck? On like the 11th hour, this last variable, and because she was questioning, "Why are you guys going there? Why don't we just hang out here?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "No, get the fuck out here."
No, there's a part of me that was like, "Annie, you should just come to Copley."
Like, no. So somehow I'm glad. I mean, you guys convinced her to still stick with the plan.
We hop into Amy's car. Amy is like down to join us for lunch at the area where Helen's house is. And
Alston, Massachusetts.
Yeah. So at this point, we're in Amy's car heading over to the restaurant, or actually the house. And that's when I got a text from Eric saying, go with the plan. We're moving ahead with it as nothing has happened. I was like, okay, great. Amy's now part of the plan. And then that's when we got a phone call from Annie, and the phone rings and Helen picks up.
This was planned though.
Yeah. And Annie's saying, hey, Tyler's running behind the dentist or whatever. Helen goes, okay, I'll just take him to the house. And when I heard that line, I go, we're safe. We're safe.
Yeah, she herself suggested the thing that we needed to get her to do.
You guys are so lucky that I suggested.
You're so predictable is what we are. Yeah.
So predictable.
And we knew that you would want to show the back.
Yeah.
At this point, we were approaching the house, and I think Amy was like, oh, yeah, here's the house. And then Helen goes, no, we need a park. And I was like, yes, we need a park. Because I think Amy didn't even want to go down.
She didn't want to get out.
Yeah.
Amy.
So luckily, Helen's like, oh, I think all they was like, oh, we should go down.
We should go take some photos.
So we said, we want to walk around. We parked in front of the house. In my brain, I'm like, okay, cool. Because I knew the plan was to get Helen in the back to take that one final photo before Phil comes out. But I was like, okay, let's start the photos now. So she's not like.
So it doesn't seem strange
Exactly.
that we were only taking it in the back of the house.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm like, oh, Amy, like, Helen,
get
take a photo, whatever. And Amy's kind of like, damn, you guys take a lot of photos.
Yeah, she was like, you guys are intense.
Yeah.
Especially because Mel's like, put your hair back, stand up straight, like fix your shirt and all this stuff.
And part of me is like, oh, I used to work in photo. This is just natural. And at this point, we're like heading towards the back where the whole plan is going to come. Before that, I made her take a photo in front of the sign too. I was like, oh, one more photo so she won't suspect anything.
In front of Brighton Ave. Yes,
Yeah.
that's where I grew up.
So at this point, we're kind of like heading towards the back. And the plan was, Wes said to me, Mel, make sure you stand on the left. Everyone needs to stand on the left side of Helen's shoulder because I will be in an alleyway on that side. So if you don't stand on that side, she'll see me. So we're walking towards the back. I look at Amy and I'm like, she's on the wrong side. And I'm like, shit.
Well, Mel and I looked at, because we both knew that instruction, and then so you kind of naturally headed towards Helen to guide her more to the right, and then I naturally, I don't know your cousin, but I was like, hi, Amy. I kind of like put my arm around, I was like, let's walk this way.
I remember, Mel, you grabbed my left
arm.
I was like, this is interesting because you don't really grab me that much.
Really?
My
I
arm.
did grab you.
Or you were. I guess you were like very giddy about it, so I was like, "Oh, this is cute. Oh, this makes me feel like she's excited to see my backyard."
Yeah, it really was. And so at this point, we're on location now. Like, I see the general area. So at this point, I'm like, let's take one more photo. And then Amy gets in the photo. I'm like, oh, no. I was like, it's supposed to be just Helen. But I was like, okay, let's take a quick
one more photo in front of my backyard, like the porch where my apartment was. Yeah.
Yes. So we're taking that one photo. And then as I'm taking this photo, I'm looking for the marker Wes sent me.
The chapstick.
The orange chapstick that is literally like blended in with all the orange leaves on the floor. I couldn't find it. And so I'm like, fuck it. Let me take this quick photo. And then I go, all right, great photo. Just a solo one with Helen now. Just with Helen.
And we also had to get your jacket off so I was like, Helen, just take off your jacket. And
Take off your purse,
Yeah.
It was actually Eric's note, like, make sure she takes off her purse.
Smart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to position you. And then I see Janet like pull Amy out. And I can tell Amy's like, what the fuck?
I was like,
Amy
let's
was
just stand this way. Let's go over here.
She was like, you guys are so intense. And Mel was like, move away from the gate. You're like, I mean, the whole thing is a gate. So she was like, move away from the gate a little bit. I was like, okay, like move to the left a little bit. I'm like, it's like similar distance away from the gate when I moved to the left. But I was like, okay, Mel's really into it. I'll just stand wherever she wants me to go.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, this is as close as the chapstick as I can get. And I go, all right, on a count of 3, say Boston. And I go, 1, 2, 3. And she goes, Boston. And that's when Phil walks out.
From behind a shed.
Yeah.
Well, Boston was the key word because I was hiding and I was trying to hear what was happening. But yeah, Boston was supposed to be the moment where I come out. But what's crazy is that even right before you guys got there, Annie and your mom got there early. And I was like, oh my God, like what if you guys walked up first and you guys would have crossed paths and would have been like, what are you guys doing here? Yeah. They showed up and were like, hide, get away. I felt so bad because I kind of was like freaking out. And, like I was maybe a little like short. I was like, you need to go away. But yeah, so finally, it happened and the rest is history, I guess. But oh my God, that was a lead up.
It's funny because the whole time I'm just like, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. This is nice.
We just talked for like almost an hour about this. Oh my God.
Yeah, this was 50 minutes.
Sorry, guys. I mean, if you guys like this, it works. But
it was a really big moment, and I'm so glad that everything worked out. So relieved, and you guys helped out so much, and it's so important that Helen had such close friends to help coordinate, all this. So I'm so happy that we got to have that special moment.
Asian Boss Girl is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes for creators, entrepreneurs, and curious people everywhere. You can take classes in marketing, where you learn how to grow your community and work with brands, or classes about how to get your podcast off the ground. So whether you're picking up a new skill for your day job, figuring out your next side project, or pursuing a longtime passion, Skillshare has classes for you.
When we first started ABG, the thought of becoming entrepreneurs never crossed our minds, but it was a role that we quickly and happily stepped into. Despite the excitement of starting a small business, we still had a lot of questions. Luckily, with Skillshare, we have access to a ton of classes focused on being an entrepreneur to help us along the way.
Join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for our listeners. Get 2 free months. That's right, Skillshare is offering Asian Boss Girl listeners 2 free months of unlimited access to thousands of classes. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/ABG. Again, go to Skillshare.com/ABG to start your 2-month free trial now. That's Skillshare.com/ABG.
So that was the story behind how the engagement happened, and we are all heavy sigh of relief, especially for Phil.
Yeah.
And now you guys are formally engaged.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
First off, I just want to say thank you so much for even like being part of that process. Like you two and your Wong Fu team all coming out to Boston. It's like this whole elaborate plan that I had no idea about until afterwards. Like even when you showed up, it's pretty funny because I was so out of it. So the first thing I thought after I said Boston, and then Mel, you kind of like scurried away to like open up the field for Phil to come out. You know how like you have these like very split second thoughts. I saw this like emotional man come out of a shed. And if you could just imagine, like for me, I was just like, who? Because the first thing I saw was an emotion. So I was like, there's a very sad man here. Like I didn't even see that it was you. And this is like a
Wow.
very, very, very short split second thought, right? And I was like, this well-dressed, sad Asian man, is he okay? And then I saw it was you. And I was like, oh my gosh, Philip's here. And I didn't connect in this like second of a thought that Mel and Janet were in on it. So I was like, oh my God, do they know that you're here? Like, how did you end up being here without them knowing? Because you guys played it off so well that I didn't know that you guys had coordinated something. So then when I saw you, I was like, is everything okay? Because you were like crying when you stepped out of the shed. You were already in tears, right? So I thought something was wrong, and you were here to tell me something was wrong.
Oh no.
And so
Oh god.
that was like maybe 2 seconds in that I had those thoughts.
Yeah.
And then as you started walking towards me, I was like, oh shit, I think this is happening. I think this is happening. The first half of the proposal, I think I was so just focused on like what is happening, what's going on, you're here. In my mind, I was still thinking about how do I show Janet and Mel this like my childhood home and the stories I wanted to tell them. So in my mind, my mental was like not focused on your words at all.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that.
Sorry, that's the truth though, because like at the same time you're like, oh my gosh, this is it.
It's a good thing I talked for a very long time to give you a runway to catch up.
And there was a part of me that was like, focus on the words, be present, right? And it's so hard to be present when you're so shocked. So it wasn't until if we do release the video, people will see where I started like laughing a little bit that I was like, oh, I'm here. It's happening right now. So I started like giggling, and I think you were probably like, what the fuck are you giggling at my words? But that's when I like snapped into it and I started listening, and I was just like, wow, like in the moment, I got into the moment, my like voice started to quiver, and I just started to like feel all the tears and the emotions build up, and everything you said was just like super sweet.
Thank you. Well, it's it was a very intense moment. So and I think the surprise was so big that it makes sense that you were just almost like disoriented.
Yeah,
I was so
she
disoriented.
Yeah, like you were knocked out for a second.
I honestly thought I had like a concussion, or like I went to like sleep and I passed out and it was like a dream. Because when you walked out, I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. The aftermath, I think, was just such a great weekend. Also, like we purposely just told everyone, hey, let's just enjoy the moment. We didn't post anything on social, the whole weekend, and we had some great parties and hanging out with friends. All your like high school friends,
everyone
came
from
back out
home,
That was really nice.
And Mel was like, "When are we posting?
Obviously, working in marketing and social is just like, I want to make sure you guys are okay and you guys are priority and like feel safe, because I feel like this is huge news just for anyone to know and share.
And on that note, actually, the announcement itself, I'm shocked. I was honestly shocked how many people cared. I thought it would be like, some social media engagement, whatever, but like I can't believe that it was like news on like subtle Asian traits and like blogs and stuff. And I've never gotten so many DMs from like fans who just saw the engagement as like almost like they're proud of like a family member, you know, like, and it kind of reminded me like how long Wong Fu's been doing stuff and been part of their lives, and now that they feel connected to see us take that next step, I was like, it was a really, really sweet reminder, and I'm really, really grateful to everyone who took the time to say some kind words and make us feel so appreciated, I guess.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your special moment with all of us.
Yeah.
For me, now I'm a little bit older and I've seen a lot of friends go through engagement and marriage, and I've never been so close to an engagement. And when I saw Phil walk out of the shed and he was like quiver, I was like, oh man. And I couldn't, just like looking at the two of you, we couldn't even really hear what you were saying, but I was moved because I'm like, these are two people that I care about and I can see such a big moment in their life. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us too.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I remember I looked at Janet and I was like,
I saw her look at me and then I was crying. She's like, don't do it.
because I know when she I was actually holding in my tears. Like Janet, this is the first engagement I've ever been a part of, but it's just like, plus you guys are like two of my closest friends. Like that's so rare. And she started crying. I'm just like, I'm gonna cry now.
When it was over and I looked back, Mel was like, all her makeup was gone up. I was like, whoa, what was going on back here?
Like when I looked at you, I was like, your face was like a tomato.
It's like, was I proposing to you?
I just think I felt so many like emotions in that moment. I was so happy for both of you, and also seeing you guys go through so much with this relationship. It's just like they did it. And then I think for me, I was telling you guys 2 nights ago about like, it just kind of like hit me that I've been a Wong Fu fan since I was 16. So when Phil was saying like, I'm so overwhelmed with all these like supportive messages, I kind of felt like it was the first time I was brought back as a fan, as that 16-year-old person that watched Wong Fu from the beginning. And for me to see you, you know, finally find that like that person that you're writing about all these years and all this stuff, and your struggle and your journey with love, to find someone that I know was a great fit for you and someone I truly admire and adore. It just like, it makes me even more emotional, because it's just like, I'm not only supporting you as a fan, but supporting you as a friend of you and also a huge friend of Helen. So I'm just like, it was a huge
very
thing.
sweet, Mel.
Bridesmaid's speech is already going on right here.
Oh, you recorded it, so you can remember what you just said.
So I'm just playing. So does that mean I'm a bridesmaid?
No, that's beautiful. Like both of you, thank you. And like, and actually, people that are being so welcoming to Helen, and the people saying my favorite podcasters and my favorite YouTubers. Like it's cool.
It is cool. Like what you just said though, Mel. It's kind of cool that like everyone's grown up with you, Philip, like throughout your whole love journey. It was you literally put it out on display for everyone to see, all of your like emotional turmoil and everything that you've been through, and now it ended up here. It's pretty cool. Which we can talk about next episode.
Yes.
This was a long one. Sorry, everyone, if you had no interest in this whatsoever. This does not have anything to do with your corporate life.
They're like, we came here for poops and periods.
No, this is great. We got in all of the juicy details, and then we'll do in a follow-up episode a deeper dive into kind of the personal and emotional journey that you guys both went through to get to this point.
And for what's to come after the announcement of the engagement.
Let the wedding planning begin.
Like, who are the bridesmaids?
I guess this event is worthy of a 2-parter for the ABG podcast. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, ladies.
So this wraps up our episode today. You guys can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Overcast, all of the podcasting platforms, ABG/Asian Boss Girl. Give us a rating or a review.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment on our latest Instagram post with the engagement ring to show us that you've listened and enjoyed it.
Thank you for following us on this journey, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.